You think you're tough? Try surviving a single day in ancient Egypt where the sun isn't your friend, it's your executioner. Where the Nile, your only source of water, doubles as a graveyard. A place where every dawn was a curse disguised as light. You've romanticized the pyramids long enough. Now it's time to suffer them. Where every breath, every bite, every barefoot step is a gamble between life and something far, far worse. Welcome to a place that history wrapped in gold, but hid in agony. Before your eyes even flutter open, you're already losing. The desert sun has broken into your hut like a burglar, searing the skin off your dreams. In ancient Egypt, comfort is a fantasy. In you hide behind a sweating wall, and even it feels like it's breathing fire. You're already behind. There's no roof strong enough to shield you, no curtain thick enough to protect you. You're lying on a mat woven from straw and regret beneath a linen sheet that clings to you like damp guilt. The hotter you burn, the more honored you're supposed to feel. That's not heatstroke, it's divine approval. You follow the Smelias, the smelt to the Nile, the sacred river, civilization's lifeline. But it's not an oasis. It's a biohazard. Forget comfort, something that might have had legs once but doesn't anymore. The banks are a horror film, buzzing with flies, bloated frogs, and swirling death. The Nile breeze you've heard about in travel shows? Dead. Every step is a negotiation with the sun. You're dehydrated. You're dizzy. And the gods, they don't care. The same river carries livestock, filth, funeral fluids, and dead hopes downstream. And somehow, you still believe you're cleaner when you come out. If not, you're scrubbing with your neighbors, your goats, and a sacred ibis pecking at your feet like you owe it rent. In ancient Egypt, pain is the price of existing. Buried under centuries of lies, the air doesn't move, sits, stagnant, suffocating. You swat flies with one hand and drink despair with the other. By the time you crawl out of your hut, the sand is already whispering threats under your feet, scorching your soles with every step. You thought the sun was just hot? Here, it's a God-furious, blinding, vengeful, doesn't rise. It's fermented sludge, thick enough to chew, sour enough to sting. And kids drink it too not because it's edgy, but because the Nile will kill them faster. Let's not just chew its crunchy with sand, literal sand. Ground into the flour by the same stones that ground your ancestors into dust. And unless you're rich or a priest, you're not getting protective oils. Your SPF 50 is mud and crocodile dung, yes. That's real. It attacks. Wearing a linen tunic? Cute. Might as well be tissue paper in a furnace. No sunscreen. No shade. Just a raw sky branding your skin like livestock. Midday arrives, and the ground is so hot you could cook lentils on it. Trees, a myth. Shade, a rumor. And don't you dare complain. Ra is watching. This isn't weather, it's oppression. By now your body feels like it's been spit roasted in slow motion. But congratulations, you've survived the morning. Barely time to wash up. The moment you get close, you're assaulted by the stench of rotting fish, human waste, dead frogs. Welcome to bath time. No soap, just sand. Rub it all over your body and pretend you're re-exfoliating instead of peeling your skin off like paint on a burning wall. You're bathing in the same water where crocodiles hunt, corpses float, and people defecate. Still think ancient Egypt was glorious? Pound your clothes against rocks, praying the Nile doesn't snatch you mid-rinse? If you're in a city like Memphis or Thebes, you might get a public basin. No privacy, no dignity, just survival. You carry water jars back home on your head, trying not to collapse before the heat bakes your house into a literal oven. Breakfast is next if you can stomach it. Forget pancakes and coffee. This is war food, dry, gritty, soul-sucking. You crouch in the corner because furniture is for the rich and gnaw on bread dense enough to chip your teeth. You drink beer that tastes like lukewarm death, not fizzy, not fun. If you're lucky, a dry date. If you're really lucky, a fish someone else didn't already eat raw, and that's your fuel? That's your good meal? Time to work. Unless you're a scribe, priest, or god tier, royalty, you're screwed. Your job is dirt, muscle, and agony. No office, no chair, just fields of pain and sun. Farmers are ankle-deep in mud, bent like broken dolls, pulling weeds while an overseer screams like he enjoys it. Your tools? Sickles? And your own bleeding fingers. Back hurts. Too bad. That means you're doing it right. You're not spared. You're hauling, grinding, cooking, nursing, and working fields too. Your life, not yours. Your break is when the baby naps for 7 minutes. If you're a laborer, your day is biblical suffering, hauling multi-ton stones. Barefoot while climbing ramps, built from crushed dreams and gravel. While walking, sweat in your eyes, dung under your nails. You keep moving or you starve. To insult him is to insult the sun, the cosmos, the entire structure of the universe. And you're just privileged to sweat in his shadow. You're useless, maybe dead. Tomb work is worse. You haven't met your worst enemy yet. You're carving eternity for someone else, while your own life burns away, hour by hour. It's in your eyes, your mouth, your food, your bed. Every breath is a gamble against microscopic razors. Trip once, broken ankle. Your shoes, you don't have any? Most Egyptians walked barefoot, their feet bleeding sandals made of flesh. No rest, no escape. It's painted larger than anyone else's because the law said so. You'll never see him, no seal. The wind brings gifts, sand in your teeth, sand in your soul. One gust and you're blind, choking, crying through a dust cloud that feels like drowning in ash. You'll only see his gold, his guards, and his wrath. Mess up a pharaoh's tomb, you don't get fired, you get sealed inside. Women, dinner, there's no weekend. The sun is your manager, the Nile is your toilet. By sunset, your body's broken, but your mind, it has to keep pretending. Because you don't just work for a boss, you work for a god. The pharaoh isn't just king, he's the divine embodiment of Horus, son of Ra. Think your boss is bad? Imagine if your manager was a living god who could erase your soul for a bad attitude. You can't complain, you can't joke, you can't think wrong. Speak against him and you vanish into the desert, to prison. It dies before it starts. Just ask the last village that withheld taxes. Oh wait, you can't. It's gone. It's into the underworld without your burial goods. His face is everywhere in statues, bread molds, murals. Work on his tomb. You smile while you die.
Nice.
Because not smiling is treason and rebellion. So yes, he's divine.
Nice.
Still think you'd survive a day. It's not scenery. It's a curse. Your tunic might as well be a fishnet.
S.
Sand slips inside, grinds your skin raw, settles in every fold, every pore. Bread tastes gritty because the flour stones added bonus minerals gravel. Your house has no windows and sandstorms. Egypt's version of a slat from Ra. Your life is sand, heat, hunger, and worship. There's no clock out. This is just part 1 of surviving ancient Egypt. You're not dead yet. But the gods are only just beginning to test you. Still think you'd survive ancient Egypt? Let's turn up the heat, because you're not just waking up in the past. You're re-waking up in a furnace of suffering. The Nile isn't singing, the sun isn't shining, they're screaming, and you're the sacrifice. There's no alarm clock. Just the crack of dry air slicing your lungs. You wake up gasping, drenched in sweat, heart pounding, like you were just hunted in your sleep. And maybe you were. Your pillow, a stone, or nothing. Your bed, a mat crawling with things you can T-name and Don T want to see in daylight. Insects swarm your linen blanket. If you can call a ragged strip of cloth a blanket, the air thick, unmoving. It wraps around you like a suffocating shroud. No privacy, no mercy, just misery. You stagger outside, your feet instantly scorched by sand that feels like burning coals. Welcome to your morning. The sun isn't your light, it's your punishment. You don't bask in it, you beg it to go away. Your skin is already blistering. No sandals, no hats, just you, barefoot, burned, and breathless. Even before midday, your tunic clings to your back like melted wax, and the gods demand you smile through it. Looking up invites the gaze of the gods. Or worse, the lash of a master. The Nile teases you in the distance, a glimmering lie under a punishing sky. You pray to Ra, to Thoth, to anyone, but they're silent. From rage, you rest. A bloated corpse drifts past, eyes open, accusing in crocodiles. Just beneath the surface, waiting. You die. You move. To somewhere upriver, a priest blesses the water, but no one here feels holy. You suffer. Shh. You walk with your head down, not from shame, but from survival. Looking up is rebellion, pebbles in the dough. Every bite a gamble between hunger and shattered teeth. A lifeline. The Nile is too filthy. God's too cruel. That's your week's supply. Gone. You eat because if you don't, you won't make it past the next task. A test. A punishment. The sand hisses with each step, not from movement. You're thirsty, but clean water is a myth. You're not a worshiper. You're a servant. And servants don't get miracles. You crave shade like a dying man craves breath. But Egypt doesn't give shade. It gives shadows with fangs. Every mud wall radiates heat like a furnace. Every doorway holds 1,000 biting flies. This is your choice. Every single day. At the riverbank, the scene is a waking nightmare. You thought the Nile was sacred? Sacred the way fire is sacred. Beautiful, but it devours. You crouch to wash your face, but the water stings. Dead fish float beside you. You're not bathing. You're making an offering yourself. Women scrub clothes beside you, their knuckles raw, faces hollow. Children splash, unaware of what lurks beneath. Just hunted. You return home with water jars balanced on your head. Heavier than they look. Deadlier than you'd think. If one slips, break a jar, and your family doesn't drink. Breakfast isn't a meal. It's a chore. You gnaw on bread hard enough to break bone. Not just from age, from grit. Sand in the flour, your only drink. Thick, sour, flat, not a luxury. You eat while swatting flies. You eat while choking on smoke. There is no dining table, no blessing, no pause, just motion. Endless motion. And now, work. If you're a farmer, your back is already arched like a bowstring. If you're a laborer, your hands are swollen, your nails black, your muscles twitching from yesterday's agony, and yet you move, because to stop is to die. The overseer's whip doesn't crack from anger, it cracks from routine. Each mark on your back is a silent monument to a civilization that worships symmetry and suffering. You haul stones for gods who've already damned you. You breathe dust. You bleed into the earth. Life is your labor, and your reward is survival. You pray to a sun that burns instead of blesses. You build tombs for pharaohs who'll never see you. You shade your eyes with calloused hands. You don't have a career, you have a sentence. It's just a shallow pit behind a wall, and whispers no one remembers. Mess up, and you vanish. No grave, no ceremony. Even priests keep quiet. The rich eat dates and honey. You chew bark to keep your stomach quiet. They lie under fans made of feathers. They live as gods. They'll celebrate. Your skin itches from lice. Your muscles burn from overuse. Your eyes sting from salt and dust, not from joy, from panic. Flooding means food might grow, might, if the gods feel generous. You die as proof they existed. The Nile overflows, if not, famine, which means even more offerings, even more prayers, even more blood. By nightfall, your body is broken. You collapse onto your mat, too tired to speak, too sore to cry, and still, you dream. Not of paradise. You dream of silence, and wake to a baby's wail, a neighbor's scream, a jackal's howl, but of less pain. There's no such thing as peace in ancient Egypt, just pauses between punishments. You dream of water, and wake with a dry mouth. Sleep is a battlefield, rest is a myth. You whisper a prayer to Anubis, guardian of the dead, not because you're religious, but because you're desperate. Take me gently, you plead. But Anubis never listens on the first night. This is just day one. You're not special. You're not chosen. You're not remembered. You're a body, a tool, a number. You're the reason pyramids stand, and the reason no one sees the bodies beneath them. Still think you'd last a day? Tomorrow, the gods turn their gaze closer, and they are not kind. Still alive? Great. But don't get cozy. Because in Egypt, death is only the beginning, and the gods aren't done testing you yet. Your soul must pass a courtroom of 42 divine prosecutors, each asking a question you better answer perfectly. Think you can lie? Your heart is being weighed on a scale, soul-devouring beast with no sympathy and a huge appetite. Mess up, and you're tossed to Amit again. And get this, Evan, a wrong word can end you. This is your afterlife, and it's harder than life. Maybe not. They build luxury tombs stocked with food, statues, gold, perfume, and dolls that work for them in eternity. The wealthy, They prepare for death like it's retirement. Poor folks, you're wrapped in scraps and buried in a hole, maybe a clay pot next to you. You still dream of eternity, just with fewer statues and more suffering. But even if you pass the judgment, you're not safe, because now that you're finally resting in peace, guess what? The living are about to rob your grave. Tombs in Egypt are stuffed with treasure and that made them targets. Your afterlife might be looted for lunch. When your kid is starving, someone else's funeral offering becomes dinner. People broke into sacred chambers for gold, beer, linen, and bread. Tomb robbing wasn't a crime, it was a career path. Look at the hieroglyphs, those intricate, haunting symbols carved into tombs. Theft wasn't just about greed, it was about hunger. Egypt faced famines, wars, and collapse. Even priests and guards got in on the action. Sometimes the very people who buried you came back to steal from your corpse. It's a code, a puzzle soaked in mysticism and blood. You held power in your ink. They run left, right, up, down, whatever the scribe felt like that day. Scribes trained for years, memorizing scrolls until their hands were clawed from copying. But every symbol was a spell, prayer, a key to eternity. The only clue? The direction a bird or a man is facing, your name erased, your mummy unwrapped. Rest in peace. Only if no one knows where your body is. To erase it was spiritual annihilation. You want something beautiful in all this horror? Fine, but don't mistake beauty for simplicity. Hieroglyphs are a gorgeous, unreadable nightmare. Over 700 symbols, no vowels, no punctuation. You've begged the gods to leave you alone. You've worked until your fingers split and your soul cracked. It's not writing. Only 1% of people could read it. But once you were a scribe, you were untouchable. You never lifted a stone again. Why? Because writing wasn't communication. It was magic. To write a name was to preserve a soul. So yes, hieroglyphs may look like emojis. And still, after all this, we ask the same question. Could you survive even one day in ancient Egypt? You've baked. You've bled. And we're not done, because what comes next will make the Nile seem like a vacation. If you thought the heat, the hunger, and the humiliation of ancient Egypt were bad, brace yourself, because the sun may have burned your skin, but religion burns your soul. Here, the gods aren't myths. They're masters, and they don't forgive. You don't worship for peace. You worship to survive. Thoth, the ibis-headed moon god, counts your failures. Sobek, the crocodile god, he guards the very river you wash in and could kill you in it. Bastet, the cat goddess, her eyes are on you even while you sleep. Religion isn't a weekly routine. It's your 24/7 operating system. Don't curse unless you want to summon a ghost with a grudge. Your job, your food, your bath, your bed, it's all dictated by divine beings who watch your every move, every mistake, every sin. Because in ancient Egypt, dying is the beginning of the nightmare. Ra, the sun god, sails across the sky in a cosmic boat, watching. You wake up, thank Ra, spill beer, apologize to Hathor, stub your toe. You don't just fear death, you fear what comes after. You die, and suddenly you're a contestant in the deadliest game show in history. One stumble, and your eternity is over before it starts. Funerals aren't simple. They're multi-day marathons where the soul must navigate a mythological maze of demons, trials, and trick questions. Expect onions rubbed into your skull while a priest whispers spells to banish the demon living in your brain. Lie once, steal once, cheat once, and your soul is devoured. Scream into a mud pillow and pray it's not your last. You just hope your bones don't rot too fast and the gods are feeling generous. Early penicillin. They didn't believe in biology, they believed in curses. Every illness might be a pissed-off ghost or a serpent spirit wrapped around your spleen. Boom lunch for the underworld monster, Amit. Frankenstein creature with the head of a crocodile, the body of a lion, and the appetite of karma. Not punished, erased. Your heart is weighed against a feather of truth. Gone forever, no second chances, no afterlife, just non-existence. Think again. They had rights but no rest, had agency but no escape. And it gets worse. Your words can damn you. Say the wrong thing to a god, just incense, hot air, and a room full of prayers that your uterus doesn't kill you. They were shackled by survival, and survival was ruthless. Back to grinding flour with a baby on your hip and a beetle in your hair. You better know the exact spell at your funeral. You better say it with conviction. You might read. You might manage estates. You might even rule. Lead-based makeup, applied with sticks that double as weapons. You want eyeliner? It better protect your eyes and your soul. The elite, they get the full treatment. Tombs, scrolls, chants, divine cheat codes. The poor religion isn't about faith. It's about insurance, and you can't afford the premium. Sick, hurt, cursed, don't expect mercy. Because Egyptian medicine was a violent dance between herbs, hope, and hysteria. Get ready to be healed with cow dung, lizard blood, and a side of black magic. Got a headache? Eye infection? How about a paste made from beer, ochre, and crushed lizard guts? Toothache. The rest no dentist, just a man with a pair of tongs made by a blacksmith and no anesthesia? If he misses? Sure, some of their cures worked. Honey, antibacterial, mold. The solution: hang a magical amulet around your neck and hope it makes the demon dizzy. You don't heal, you endure. And if you're a woman, you're not just enduring, you're carrying the entire civilization on your back. While pretending it's fine? Think women were powerless in ancient Egypt? Sure, you could own land, sue your husband, even become a priestess. Sounds progressive, right? Now wake up at 4 a.m., grind grain until your hands bleed, haul water, cook meals, raise kids, feed animals, mend clothes, and help your husband in the fields all before breakfast. You're a one-woman army, and your armor, a thin linen dress, no underwear, and 1,000 insect bites. Childbirth, pure terror, no meds, no doctors. And if you survive that fashion, if you're rich, life's easier. But if you're poor, and most were you, lived elbow-deep in dough, swatting flies, praying your kids don't die young. Women weren't chained by law. You thought the sun was cruel? Wait until you meet the gods who command it. 'Cause in ancient Egypt, faith isn't about comfort, it's about control. And the gods don't ask for your loyalty. They own it. Every second, every breath. Every morning you wake up, not in gratitude, but in submission. You survived the night. Thank Ra, your crops haven't failed. Praise Osiris. Your child didn't die in their sleep. Offer something, anything, or you'll be next. You approach them barefoot, head down, spine bent, not out of humility, but out of instinct. Religion isn't a sanctuary, it's survival wrapped in shackles. The temples rise like monoliths, beautiful on the outside, but hollow with fear within. One wrong gesture, one missed word, one forgotten ritual, and your entire family could be cursed. This isn't spirituality. You repeat the prayers even if you don't understand them. You burn incense, not for the scent, but to cover your fear. This is spiritual warfare. A misstep in the sand can mean the gods are watching, and they guarantee like what they see. The battlefield is your own body. You live by omens. Dreams are dissected. Shadows are read. So you keep your head down. The gods don't have mercy. They have rules. Complex, cruel, and always shifting. There's a god for the sun, a god for the moon, a god for the dead, a god for embalming the dead, and a god for the mistakes you made while embalming the dead, and all of them. Angry, jealous, insatiable, no welcome, no peace. First you must defend your soul in court. You don't just worship, you calculate. You align your life like a fragile puzzle. Every offering, every festival, every muttered charm is one more desperate attempt to buy another day. But even that might not save you. Because when you die, the real nightmare begins. Death in ancient Egypt isn't the end. It's the beginning of the most terrifying journey you've ever faced. No heaven. You're dragged through the underworld. Your heart is weighed against the feather of mat truth, too heavy with sin, too light with lies. You're thrown to Ammit, half lion, half hippo, half crocodile, all terror. She doesn't torture. She doesn't give speeches. It just devours your soul like it's a snack, and you are erased. Perfumed linens, tombs packed with food, statues, and servants, real and carved. No memory, no afterlife, just obliteration. To avoid that, you must recite 42 negative confessions. I did not lie. I did not kill. I did not blaspheme. And on and on. It was just a temple and a man with more fear than answers. One stumble, one forgotten line, and your soul is condemned. It's not a trial. it's a trap. So your whole life becomes preparation for death. He mumbles words while smearing animal dung across your chest. He crushes beetles and mixes them with beer. He hangs charms on your neck and spits incantations into your face. You collect charms, scrolls, prayers, and spells, each one a ticket, a key, a whisper of hope in the dark. But those things cost money. And if you're poor, you go to the afterlife empty-handed. Meanwhile, the rich prepare for death like it's a royal vacation. Golden masks. They don't fear the afterlife. They build it. But you get wrapped in worn cloth, buried in a hole, and left to rot while priests chant for someone else. Still think the gods are fair? Let's look at healing, if you can call it that. You feel a fever coming, your stomach twists, your skin breaks into boils. There's no hospital. He's half doctor, half priest. This isn't medicine. Yes. Your diagnosis? Possessed by a bad wind? Your cure? Cow urine and a prayer to Sekhmet. You scream in agony, and they tell you it's the demon leaving your body. You beg for real help, and they draw a symbol in the dirt instead. And the worst part? Sometimes it works. Not because of science. It's because fear heals what it can't understand. But most of the time, you just die. Let's talk teeth. You grind grain daily with stone. That means your food is full of sand, grit, dust. By 25, your teeth are shattered. By 30, infected. There's no dentist, no pliers. It's just an iron hook and a man too drunk to care. You'll beg for a clean death. You won't get it, women? You thought they had it better? Wrong. Yes, they had rights. They could own land, divorce, rule, but only if they survived long enough. The average Egyptian woman's life was childbirth, housework, silence, and pain. She grinds flour with bleeding hands, raises 6 children, carries water for miles, keeps the house clean, serves the gods, all while being bitten by insects, scalded by heat, and ignored by history. Her only break, giving birth. And even then, death is just a breath away. Just midwives with knives, blood-soaked cloth, and prayers that fail more than they work. No medicine, no help. She survives. Back to work, she dies. The gods get one more body. Fashion. I want to talk fashion. Try kohl eyeliner made from lead and ash. It looks beautiful until it blinds you. Try linen dresses that turn see-through with sweat. Try body hair plucked with tweezers made from bronze. Beauty was sacred but deadly. Every woman is a walking paradox, powerful in theory, crushed in practice. And still people smile. Still they pray. Still they hope. Because hope is the only thing the gods haven't taxed yet. But that hope is a lie. Because even if you do everything right, even if you obey every god, even if you sacrifice, bleed, and believe, you can still be erased. In life, in death, in memory, welcome to ancient Egypt. You don't live here. You endure here, and you pray, not for blessings, but for a faster end. Think you've endured it all in ancient Egypt? Not even close. Because now you're about to meet your most terrifying enemy, one that never sleeps, never stops, and never shows mercy. Its name, sand. Sand isn't just around you, it's inside you. Your nose, your mouth, your eyes, your ears. It's like the gods themselves are rubbing your face against the desert floor. Useless. Sand slips through it like smoke. You walk, and it grinds into your joints. You breathe, and your lungs feel like they're inhaling razors. It's in your food, in your bed, in your clothes, under your skin. You could be working, praying, eating, sleeping, and then a gust of wind turns your life into a sand-blasted nightmare. Your linen tunic, a sand trap, your kitchen, a dust pit, your bed, a coffin full of grit. Grinding wheat with stone mills added flavor you never asked for. Grit, gravel, and ground down enamel. Every bite of bread you eat crunches not because it's toasty, but because it's filled with stone dust. Bastet, once sweet, can snap in a moment. Your teeth, they don't just decay, they disintegrate. Ancient Egyptian skeletons showed dental erosion so severe, some people chewed food with gums and pain alone. You don't understand them. You just obey them. You're home. You make an offering. Your soul must cross the underworld, face 42 questions, pass a judgment scale, and avoid eternal erasure. You sneeze wrong? You might offend a spirit? You sleep through a ritual? You risk cosmic disorder? Mud brick houses have no glass, no screens. It's just gaping holes that invite every storm, every gust, every burning whisper of the desert. Your food is seasoned with dust. Your pots fill with sand. The air turns solid. You're choking on the earth itself, praying your gods remember your name. Most walk barefoot, feet cracked, infected, bleeding. The road is a skin-shredding hell. Your child coughs through the night like their lungs are collapsing. You're buried with statues, scrolls, perfumes, spells, even food for the next life. Footwear, if you're lucky, you get sandals made of reeds that protect you from nothing. They get dirt, a ragged wrap, maybe a pot of stale beer, an endless fear. If you dare ask for help, someone might yank your molar out with tools made by someone who usually builds swords. Then come the sandstorms, blinding, suffocating, apocalyptic. The sky turns brown.
Nice.
And while you're suffering through the sand, something else is watching.
Nice.
They hang charms around your neck because maybe a ghost is coiled in your gut. She hauls water, cooks, weaves, raises, kids, helps in fields, and still finds time to bury the dead. Faith, but not the comforting kind. She gives birth in a hot room, surrounded by incense and blood, praying the gods don't steal her baby. She's barefoot, she's bitten by bugs, she's eaten by heat, still she smiles. They drain wounds without anesthetic. They rub crushed herbs into your skin while muttering spells against invisible spirits. In Egypt, religion isn't just part of life, it owns you. You don't choose your gods, you submit to them. Every action is a negotiation, every mistake an offense. The gods of Egypt weren't kind. They were unpredictable, blood-hungry, and always watching. Every town has a different deity to fear. Ra demands loyalty. Thoth demands wisdom. Sobek guards the river and punishes arrogance. They repainted with animal heads and human bodies because they not just divine, they alien. You spill food? Even funerals are insane. A multi-stage journey through fire, darkness, riddles, and monsters. Die wrong, and you become nothing, not even a memory. And the richer you are, the more gods pretend to care. Priests chant for hours. Rituals flood the air with incense and song. The poor, feeling unwell, then you're in real trouble. In ancient Egypt, getting sick meant gambling with death and magic. You're taken to a healer, a hybrid of doctor and priest. They have real tools and wild beliefs. They cut abscesses with knives that never touch fire. They give you honey mixed with moldy bread and hope your infection doesn't eat you alive. Got a cold? Here's some cow dung rubbed on your chest with a hymn to Horus. May the gods be merciful or not. Dentistry, don't ask. By your 20s, your teeth are dust. One abscess, and it's game over. No numbing, just pain, prayers, and a hand to bite while you scream. The only true medicine is faith, 'cause science is just a footnote to fear. Now meet the Egyptian woman, the backbone of the empire, the soul of the house, and the most overworked person in existence. She has legal rights, but no physical freedom. Her life is a war fought in silence. She can own land, divorce, speak in court, but her day, it's endless fire. Before dawn, she's grinding grain by hand on a slab of stone that breaks both wheat and spine. Breaks none? Maternity leave? A myth? And when that baby cries, she rocks him while mixing flour, while sweating, while fending off flies that land on his eyes. Her dress is linen, light and elegant till it's soaked in sweat, dust, and despair. Why? Because weakness is dangerous. It gets noticed. Makeup? Yes, but it's poison. Lead-based powders applied with sticks that pierce like daggers. But beauty is sacred. Appearance matters. If it kills you, if you're poor, this is life. If you're rich, things improve, but not by much. You still bend to the gods. You still bleed for tradition. You still risk your soul with every step. Even the elite women know. In Egypt, your value is measured in pain endured silently. Still alive? Then congratulations, you're about to die. Because in Egypt, death is a bureaucratic horror show. You recite the negative confessions. I did not lie. I did not steal. I did not desire my neighbor's donkey. Think death sets you free? Wrong. In Egypt, It's a high-stakes trial where the cost of failure is soul extinction. You stand before 42 gods. Say the wrong thing, your heart is thrown on a scale and found too heavy. A version of Egypt without the sand, the heat, the flies, just peace, eternity, and a boat. Because no matter how good you were, one thief, one storm, one mistake could undo it all. Then comes Amit the Devourer, half lion, half hippo, half crocodile, nightmare. She doesn't punish, she doesn't forgive, she just eats. They hoarded scrolls, learned prayers, buried themselves with cheat sheets called the Book of the Dead. No afterlife, no redemption, just a cosmic delete button, and you're gone. Rare accessories. Sometimes amulets, yes for protection. Eyeliner, yes for glare reduction and spirit repellents. Everything had meaning. Even your rags were wrapped in superstition. If you pass, you reach the field of reeds. But that's if everything goes perfectly. Miss one line, you're toast. That's why people spent their whole lives preparing for death. Still, many failed. But there was one comfort in lifelinen. The only mercy Egypt gave you was a fabric thin enough to breathe, but never thick enough to protect. Everyone wore linen men in kilts, women in sleeveless dresses. Rich or poor, it was your second skin. You prayed to gods who might ignore you. You begged for a painless death, something fast, something merciful. But comfort, that's a lie, because what came next was robbery, ruin, and revenge. Laundry day meant scrubbing in the Nile, hoping a hippo didn't drag you under mid-rinse. They embalmed their bodies in salt, linen, and spells. You only owned one outfit. Maybe two, if Ra really loved you. Sand stuck to the fabric like glue. Bugs chewed through it. Your sweat turned it into paste. Your life soaked into it daily. And still it was sacred. Better than nothing, which was often the only other option. Shoes, you wore your suffering with pride, because there was no other choice. And even as you scraped through another day, hauling bricks, dodging curses, and swatting flies with your one good hand, the truth was always near. You will die young. In Egypt, 35 was old. Most never made it. Childhood. Deadly. Heat stroke. Snake bites. Infection. Crocodiles. You name it. Marriage and work began by 13. You ran out of time the moment you learned to count it. You died from toothaches, childbirth, bad fish, or divine wrath. Right. But here's the twist. Egyptians embraced death. They planned for it. The rich, they built eternal sweet tombs filled with food, dolls, treasure, scrolls. The poor, a hole, a few offerings, a prayer. Still, they hoped. Hoped for the field of reeds. Hoped their soul would pass the test. Hoped eternity would be kind. Even when life broke them, Egyptians believed in something more. They weren't scared of death. They were scared of being forgotten. When they died, they weren't done suffering. But that. Think the heat was your worst enemy? No, it's the sand. The sand is alive, and it hates you. It slithers into your eyes, your mouth, your lungs. You wipe it off your skin, but it's already inside you, grinding your teeth, scraping your eyelids, bleeding your feet. This isn't dirt. The cuts fester. Infection creeps in. There's no ointment. There's no relief. It's a weapon. You walk barefoot on blistering terrain, and your soul's split open like cracked earth. It's mirages that taunt you with false rivers, pools that disappear when you reach them, dreams that melt into dust, only grit, blood, and resignation. You squint toward the horizon, but there's no relief there either. This land doesn't want you to live. It wants you to suffer. That your scars are divine. Your misery is part of the great cosmic design, and yet you still bow to the gods who made this hell. You bow because you've been told since birth that pain is sacred. You're not surviving, you're atoning. Religion here is not comfort. It is a contract signed in blood. Every crop you plant, every prayer you whisper, every coin you hide owed to gods that never bleed, never tire, and never forgive. They walk among you in stone and symbol, animal heads, eyes that never blink. You don't know if they love you. You don't know if they love you, but you're sure they're watching. Always. Miss a festival? Speak ill of a god? Speak ill of a god. Your harvest might rot. Doubt in your heart, disease will find you. Faith here is not belief. It's a survival tactic. You don't love your gods. You fear them. And that fear drips into everything, your work, your food, your family, your funerals. Because death isn't freedom. It's a labyrinth. A cruel puzzle with no map. You die, and instead of rest, you're thrown into a celestial courtroom where 42 gods interrogate you one by one. You have to remember every sin you didn't commit. You have to speak your innocence without stumbling. You have to pass or be erased. Your heart is weighed against a feather, too heavy. Your soul is fed to Amit, part lion, part hippo, part crocodile, and entirely unmerciful. You don't go to hell, you vanish. Your only hope, a scroll, a spell, a talisman. But those cost gold, and you are poor. You're buried in a ditch, wrapped in rags, forgotten before your name can rot. The wealthy build tombs so vast they echo into eternity. You get a hole so shallow it fills with mud the moment it rains. You face the same gods. But they don't listen to both of you equally. Still breathing? Then welcome to your other punishment, medicine. 'Cause when your body breaks, and it will, you're not healed. You're experimented on. Healers smear dung on your chest. They feed you crushed bugs, rotted honey, and fermented beer. They chant, burn herbs, and bind you with strings while muttering into your ear. Pain is not treated, it's interpreted. They don't ask what's wrong. They ask what curse you carry, who you offended. What ghost has possessed your spleen? You have a fever? It's a demon in your blood. You have a cough. It's a serpent in your lungs. You're bleeding. The gods are angry. Solutions: salt in your wounds, fire on your skin, hope in your mouth, and teeth. Don't even ask. Your bread is filled with sand. Your molars wear down like chalk. By 30, your gums are rotting. The cure: rip it out with metal pliers while you scream into a cloth and try not to pass out. Now meet the woman of ancient Egypt. Not the queen, not the goddess, the real woman. She wakes before the sun, hauls water with babies on her back, grinds grain until her hands are raw and her spine is curved like a question mark. And she does it all while bleeding. Her strength is silent. Her suffering is ignored. She gives birth squatting over mud. There's no midwife. Just hot stones and scents and whatever gods are listening. Sometimes she dies. Sometimes the baby does. Often both. She is respected on paper. She owns land? Yes. She can sue? Yes. But paper burns, and hunger screams louder than rights. Her clothes are light linen that does nothing to protect her from heat, insects, or stares. Her makeup toxic, her jewelry, copper, her voice, silenced. When she laughs, it's quiet. When she cries, it's in secret. 'Cause in Egypt, emotion is weakness. And weakness is punishable. Still think life had balance? Still think you could last? You're living in a place where pain is purpose, where gods demand blood, and society obeys. Where even the Nile, your lifeline, can drown you when it feels like it. And if that doesn't kill you, wait until the next part. Because in Egypt, your suffering doesn't end at death. Sometimes it begins there. You thought death was your release? In ancient Egypt, even the grave isn't sacred, because now that you're finally resting, someone is coming to steal your eternity, and they won't knock. Tombs meant to preserve your solar, treasure chests for the desperate. Your golden mask, gone. Your sacred oil, stolen. Your bread for the afterlife, dinner. To a thief with a starving child, your funeral offering is just a meal with extra guilt. Grave robbing wasn't an act of greed, it was survival. Curses were scratched into the walls. May your limbs rot and be devoured by fire serpents. But guess what? It didn't work. Your tomb was ransacked before your soul could even reach the field of reeds. Some of the robbers were locals. Some were guards. Some were the very workers who built the tomb. Egypt wasn't safe in life, and it sure as Ra wasn't safe in death. Even commoners weren't spared. If your family scraped together enough for a beer pot and a loaf of bread in your burial pit, that was worth digging up. But it gets worse, because now we shift away from Egypt and into a new nightmare. A new god, a new serpent, a new temple. The temple of the feathered serpent wasn't just sacred, it was predatory. Teotihuacan. It looks like a city, but it breathes like a beast. In the heart of ancient Mesoamerica, one pyramid snarled at the sun with its stone fangs. Dozens of serpent heads jutted from the walls, eyes wide, mouths open, fangs exposed like they were frozen mid-strike, not decoration. Warning signs. Step closer, and the air gets heavy. Warriors. Some were decapitated, others bound, buried with obsidian knives and jawbone jewelry. Because what lies beneath is not holy. It's horrifying. Archaeologists didn't just find treasure beneath this temple, they found bodies. Over 200 skeletons, arranged like puzzle pieces in the dirt. Most were young men. Every step you climb echoes with screams. No one remembers. All signs that this temple wasn't a sanctuary, it was a machine of death. They weren't tossed in. They were placed with purpose, with mathematical precision. This wasn't a mass grave. It was a message. A transaction between gods and rulers. Blood offered not in fear, but in faith. Because here, blood wasn't spilled in chaos. It was spilled in ceremony. A god that slithered underground yet soared through the sky, bridge between chaos and order, life and death above and below. Blood was currency. Death was a down payment on cosmic order. The temple wasn't built on sacrifice. It was built of sacrifice. Every stone laid down only after someone died to bless it. One where time, blood, and belief spiraled endlessly. A fake underworld. A replica of the Milky Way, made of poison and stone. Jaguar bones, snake skins, shells from distant coasts. All arranged with corpses, and the engine that powered it, every equinox. Every flicker of starlight meant it was time to kill, the god who demanded it. It was aligned with the universe, Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, a paradox in stone. In Teotihuacan, he wasn't gentle, he wasn't wise, he was hungry. The sacrifices weren't punishment, they were rituals. People didn't die in disgrace, they died as offerings. And beneath the temple, the horror deepens. Tunnels were uncovered lined with glittering mica and pools of mercury. You didn't just walk into this temple, you crossed into another realm. The temple wasn't aligned with the city. It's built to match the stars, the calendar, the movements of Venus, the god of war and sacrifice. Every solstice. The gods demanded a schedule. The people obeyed. You weren't sacrificed at random. You were sacrificed on time. From the sky, the city glowed with symmetry, a perfect grid. From the ground, it whispered dominance. The temple didn't need guards. Its stone teeth did the talking. It wasn't religion. It was psychological warfare. You arrive on the Avenue of the Dead. You turn a corner, and suddenly, you're under the gaze of 200 stone serpents, each one whispering, "You're a visitor, a merchant. You are prey." Is the center of the plaza, a ritual begins. Feathered priests chant, drums pound, obsidian knives gleam. A man kneels. He doesn't scream. He offers his neck. This wasn't chaos. This was order enforced through terror. Teotihuacan didn't conquer cities with swords. It conquered them with awe and fear. Visiting kings returned to their homes haunted by visions of pyramids, fire, and blood. They didn't rebel. They submitted. 'Cause how do you fight a city that feeds its gods in daylight, then? Silence. By 550 CE, Teotihuacan crumbled. Not from invasion, but from within. Signs of drought, famine, anger. Temples burned. Sculptures defaced. Rulers erased. Even the sacred temple of the feathered serpent was desecrated by its own people. The people who once offered blood, they turned on their gods. They said no more. The city fell, but the memory stayed. Centuries later, the Aztecs arrived. They found the ruins, the stones. They honored the serpent. They revived the fear, the silence. They didn't understand it, but they felt it. They named it Teotihuacan, the place where gods were born. They rebuilt the myths. But the truth, the city's name, its original builders, lost, hidden for 1,800 years, sealed so tightly it screamed, "Do not enter." All that remains is stone and sorrow. In one temple still standing, still watching. In 2011, archaeologists found a sealed tunnel beneath the serpent's temple. They entered. Echoes of pain hang in the air. The temple has not forgotten. It has simply gone quiet. Inside, thousands of offerings, jade, gold, masks, bones, liquid mercury. And a whisper, the serpent is still here. Wi-Fi, air conditioning, filtered water. The temple was never meant to be just a monument. It was a cosmic mirror, a reflection of power, violence, belief in the terrifying things humans will do to feel closer to heaven, of how far belief can bend until it breaks bones. Today, tourists snap photos. Children run past the serpent heads laughing. But the ground beneath them is soaked in blood. It's waiting. And that brings us here, back to the world of skyscrapers. And yet, we are no different. The serpent still lives, not in the stone. It's because we still build gods from fear. We still trade blood for power. We still worship progressive if it kills us. The temple is not just a ruin. It's a reminder of who we were, of what we're capable of. Every monument is a mask. Behind it, a scream. So no, you wouldn't last a day in ancient Egypt, not because you're weak, but because the world back then wasn't meant to be survived, it was meant to be endured. And now, centuries later, all that remains are bones, temples, and whispers in the sand. You thought death meant peace? In ancient times, death meant desecration. Your tomb wasn't your sanctuary. It was a target. You died in agony. You were buried with hope. You were wrapped, perfumed, protected. But before your body even cooled, someone was already digging. Not to mourn you, to rob you. Grave robbers weren't criminals, they were survivors. They were starving, desperate, angry. And your treasure, your mask, your amulets, your bread for the afterlife, that was dinner. The afterlife wasn't stolen by demons. It was stolen by neighbors, the ones who prayed beside you, laughed beside you, betrayed you the moment your eyes closed. Even the guards were in on it. The priests, sometimes your own family. The Book of the Dead didn't prepare you for human greed. Curses were etched on tomb walls. Threats of eternal torment. Warnings to the wicked. May scorpions fill your lungs. May your bones rot in the sun. But those words, powerless, because the only thing more terrifying than the gods is a man with nothing to lose. And now you think the horror ends there. Not even close. Because across the ocean, in a land veiled by jungle and smoke, another nightmare grows teeth. Its name, Teotihuacan. It looks like a city, but it moves like a beast, and it eats the sky. Stone pyramids claw upward like fangs. Masks of serpents stare down, jaws wide, eyes hollow. They don't guard the people, they feed on them. At its heart lies the temple of the feathered serpent. It doesn't invite prayer. It demands blood. A monument to beauty, built with sacrifice. Archaeologists unearthed the truth, bone by bone. Over 200 bodies buried beneath, bound, beheaded, broken. They weren't killed in secret, they were displayed. A warning written in blood. Warriors stripped of rank, honor, and breath, buried with jaguar claws, obsidian blades, and shattered dignity. They were offerings. Not to honor the dead, but to buy favor from gods with teeth. The temple's stone serpents weren't symbolic. They were watchdogs. Every step you took toward that temple, their eyes followed. Every heartbeat you gave counted. You walk into the courtyard. The drums start. Feathers whip in the wind. Incense chokes the air. A priest raises a blade, obsidian sharp enough to slice a soul, and plunges it into a willing chest. The people cheer. This wasn't a massacre. It was a festival. Ritual death, not to punish, but to preserve order. Blood spilled to keep the stars moving, to keep crops growing, to keep empires from collapsing. The victims weren't hated. They were chosen, praised, destroyed. They died knowing the gods were watching, smiling, perhaps, or just waiting. Beneath the temple, archaeologists found tunnels lined with mica, shimmering like starlight, and liquid mercury, a river of poison, a fake underworld. You thought death meant peace? In ancient times, death meant desecration. Your tomb wasn't your sanctuary. It was a target. You died in agony. You were buried with hope. You were wrapped, perfumed, protected. But before your body even cooled, someone was already digging. Not to mourn you, to rob you. Grave robbers weren't criminals, they were survivors. They were starving, desperate, angry. And your treasure, your mask, your amulets, your Your bread for the afterlife? That was dinner. The afterlife wasn't stolen by demons. It was stolen by neighbors, the ones who prayed beside you, laughed beside you, betrayed you the moment your eyes closed. Even the guards were in on it. The priests. Sometimes your own family. The Book of the Dead didn't prepare you for human greed. Curses were etched on tomb walls. Threats of eternal torment. Warnings to the wicked. May scorpions fill your lungs. May your bones rot in the sun. But those words, powerless, because the only thing more terrifying than the gods is a man with nothing to lose. And now you think the horror ends there. Not even close. Because across the ocean, in a land veiled by jungle and smoke, another nightmare grows teeth. Its name, Teotihuacan. It looks like a city, but it moves like a beast, and it eats the sky. Stone pyramids claw upward like fangs. Masks of serpents stare down, jaws wide, eyes hollow. They don't guard the people, they feed on them. At its heart lies the temple of the feathered serpent. It doesn't invite prayer. It demands blood. A monument to beauty, built with sacrifice. Archaeologists unearthed the truth, bone by bone. Over 200 bodies buried beneath, bound, beheaded, broken. They weren't killed in secret, they were displayed. A warning written in blood. Warriors stripped of rank, honor, and breath, buried with jaguar claws, obsidian blades, and shattered dignity. They were offerings. Not to honor the dead, but to buy favor from gods with teeth. The temple's stone serpents weren't symbolic. They were watchdogs. Every step you took toward that temple, their eyes followed. Every heartbeat you gave counted. You walk into the courtyard. The drums start. Feathers whip in the wind. Incense chokes the air. A priest raises a blade, obsidian sharp enough to slice a soul, and plunges it into a willing chest. The people cheer. This wasn't a massacre. It was a festival. Ritual death, not to punish, but to preserve order. Blood spilled to keep the stars moving, to keep crops growing, to keep empires from collapsing. The victims weren't hated. They were chosen, praised, destroyed. They died knowing the gods were watching, smiling, perhaps, or just waiting. Beneath the temple, archaeologists found tunnels lined with mica, shimmering like starlight, and liquid mercury, a river of poison, a fake underworld.